can hit. Thank you. All right, welcome to the Research and Design Orientation for January 2024. Okay. So on the agenda for today, we have some introductions of who we are, an overview of our design practice, including what we have research and design, and then we'll have some time at the end for what is next in your orientation journey, and then some time for questions and discussion. Okay, so who we are. There's a couple groups here. We have the Office of the CTO, otherwise known as OCTO. That's headed up by Kevin Hoffman, who's the Director of Design. Matt Dingy is our design lead. Shane Strasberg is our research lead, and Martha Wilkes is the accessibility lead. On the other side, we have the platform, which is includes myself. I'm the design lead. Allison Chrisman, who's here with us today. She's a UX designer on the governance team. Along with him on his team is Brian DeConnick, an accessibility specialist. Aaron White, information architect. Rebecca Ferguson, content specialist. And we have Dan Brady and Lucas Wright on the design system team. And you'll see all these folks either in collaboration cycle reviews or in Slack with regarding Figma and the design system. Okay, so how we'll collaborate together. We have a weekly design meeting on Mondays. I will post the agenda every Monday morning. So check that for details. There'll also be a link there, but if you would like to get get on the invite and have it on your calendar, as well as the ability to watch a recording afterwards, let me know and we'll add your company email address as well as your VA.gov email address. If you have your VA.gov email address added to the meeting, you can log in through your PIV card into Microsoft Teams and watch the recording of that meeting, which is handy if you miss it or you want to go back and refer to something. Along with that meeting, we'll also have a thread for every meeting. You can always go back and look at the discussion and look at the presentations that those that have shared will post. Okay, in addition to our weekly design meetings, we have collaboration cycle reviews. And Allison will talk more about that, but that includes a design intent review, a midpoint, and a staging review. Okay, so all along the way, you can get help at any time. We're always available in Slack. You can post questions in any of the channels we have here. Just make sure to check out the channel topic and the description and browse the channel bookmarks to see if you can answer your question through any of those things. We also have office hours, which are informal feedback, or if you have questions. Yeah, and then we have a long list of office hours now. We have design office hours on Tuesday. We also have Figma office hours right after design office hours. If you have questions specific to Figma or the design system, we have accessibility office hours on Tuesday, collaboration cycle office hours on Wednesdays, and research office hours with Shane on Fridays. So just go to this link here and you can RSVP through that link to let us know kind of the topic and what you want to discuss. Okay. Slack is great for many things. Just be mindful of a few things. Ask your questions in public channels so that others can learn from your conversation. If you have a question, there's a good chance someone else had the same question. Only use DMs when it truly needs to be private. And if you're overwhelmed by the amount of new acronyms, don't worry. You can use the WTF bot to decode them. You could do that by just typing in a / in the message space in any checks Slack channel, and the bot will help you. Will give you a uh, decode that acronym. And just note that everything in the DSVA Slack is subject to the Freedom of Information Act, and that just means don't type anything you wouldn't want, being public. There's no problem with that now. Just be mindful of that. All right, so let's get into how we UX here. So here is a high-level process that we go through. We first start with discovery. That's where you'll gather. Before you start designing anything, make sure you understand the landscape and identify any existing research to make sure the problem you're trying to solve is well understood. Then we move into user flows. It's helpful to all involved to document high-level user flows to work out the happy and unhappy paths. You'll share these at the design intent reviews. And then the design system is beneficial to use as it comes with things like accessibility baked in. The more you use it in your designs, the faster your engineers can build. To help out with the handoff from you to your engineers, annotating your designs with what components you've used can speed things up as well. We'll have another check-in at this point with the collaboration cycle to help guide you through that. And then finally, validate your design. All new features need to be validated that they work for veterans before they're added to VA.gov. We'll talk more about conducting research next. All right, so moving into research. So thinking about the high-level process, we have generative discovery research in the beginning and validation research at the end. In general, research falls into two types, as I mentioned, and we don't have a strict process, but some activities you might do in conducting these are conduct a discovery sprint to get the lay of the land and help and start your project. You can gather analytics either from existing system or comparable systems, and the analytics team can help you gather those. Comparative analysis can help you align with mental models, and baseline testing of any existing or comparable systems. As far as validation, card sorting and tree testing, when you have an IA, you want to align with user's mental model. And we have an optimal workshop account for you to use for those. Just reach out to me and I can give you access. And usability testing can happen at various stages. Early with rough clickable wireframes, all the way to high fidelity prototypes, or when it's in code on staging. You can also create a code pen prototype if you are testing with screen reader users. There's been lots of teams that have done that. For all these methods, we aim to test with a variety of users, including those with low literacy, cognitive disabilities, visual impairments, and assistive technology. And you can go to this link to learn more about inclusive research. There are two main categories of methods that our research falls into: moderated and unmoderated. The majority of our tests that we conduct with veterans are remote moderated interviews or usability tests, but our in-person interviews are picking up again as well. Perigean is a company that is contracted by the VA to help recruit, screen, gather consent forms, and schedule research sessions with veterans and caregivers with moderated research. If you would like to do a card sort or survey, keep in mind that you will need to follow the requirements of the Paperwork Reduction Act. This is the law governing how federal agencies collect information from the American public. And you can learn more about all of those in those links below. Okay, so at a high level, this is the path for research. First, start by reviewing the research checklist. This is a reference to come back to again and again as you navigate through the process. You'll have your plan reviewed by Shane Strasberg, who works with Perigean to make sure you recruit the right people and have a reasonably scoped study. Finally, we encourage you to share your findings with the rest of the design community at VA. We all learn from each other and build on previous research. What you uncover in your study could influence and/or save another team time. So that's what's shared in our Monday design meeting. And you are welcome to come to research office hours at any time. Shane is there every week, can answer any questions for you. But as you go through the process, he'll be there to help you as well. Okay, so here's some resources for you to dive in later that go through. It's a very extensive checklist and should answer most of your questions. But if you have any questions, there is a research ops channel that you can post in questions in. And then we also have a trauma-informed community channel, which we encourage you to join. And that link will give you more information about that. Okay, moving into design. Allison, take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about design. So these are our 4 main design principles, usable by everyone. So accessibility is extremely important. People with disabilities do not have less needs than anyone else. There will be an accessibility expert at each touch point for the collaboration cycle. You heard Naomi mention the collaboration cycle. So part of the governance team, we have different practice area leads. There will be an accessibility person as one of those practice area leads. Always design mobile first and avoid dead ends. Make it simple. Focus on the primary tasks and do not try to put too much on a single page. It can be very distracting. Break complex tasks into small, logical, ordered steps. Multiple responses redesign is a good example of this. This is a pattern we have out in our design system, which you can look at. Previously, it was a wizard where you would ask one question and get conditional logic that would reveal another question, and that pattern would continue. We found that that had some issues, especially when it came to accessibility. So we moved to a more of a one thing per page example with that. Veterans first. Design with veterans, not for veterans, is something you will hear a lot. That means you should be doing usability testing on every feature that goes on VA.gov. Everything we design should ultimately make tasks easier for our veterans. And then impact. A veteran should be able to access the same content and user experience regardless of how they engage with their data. Check-in is a good example of this. So for check-in, we have the app, which is on your phone. You may scan a QR code that's on a poster. You may have to go in and fill out things, but the experience should be accessible on the same content. And go to the next slide. Our VA design system. This will help you create trustworthy, accessible, and consistent digital services on the VA.gov platform. It is our single source of truth on design on VA.gov and has all things like accessibility baked into it. We use it to ensure that all individual pieces that you're building come together in a seamless experience for the veteran. Within the design system, you can find things like the content style guide, foundational elements like fonts, colors, and icons, and most importantly, components and patterns. The components in the design system will also link out to their appropriate Figma files, research, open issues, and Storybook if it's available. Storybook is similar to our design system, except it's a place where you can see how our components are actually coded. It is used mostly by engineers, but designers can use it too. There's actually a canvas tool within Storybook that you can change the layout of a component so you can see how it will behave when it's mobile versus desktop. You also have all the options for that component. For example, if you want to see what a modal looks like with an alert style or make an alert dismissible, you can toggle the settings in Storybook. One thing to keep in mind about the design system, you may see components that have V1 or V3 next to them. We are currently moving to V3, so I would highly advise you use those if there is an option. Basically, the V3 is just in alignment with the USWDS components and patterns. All right, next slide. So I talked a little bit about the content style guide. This is one of the things that's in our design system. The content style guide is shared across VA administrators and teams so we can speak with one voice and create a consistent, helpful experience for veterans and non-veteran users. The content principles explain how you create consistent, clear, and customer-centered content on VA.gov, not just another layer of bureaucracy. We follow plain language standards to help veterans and their families find and understand the information they need. The content style guide will have everything from how to format dates and times to what specific form label should look like. The content and IA intake request form is something you will submit when going through the collaboration cycle. And Naomi, if you want to go out to the design system real quick and let's just take a look at a couple of things so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. So up here, this is the part of the content style guide we were just talking about. And on the left-hand side, you'll see all kinds of information. I just talked about form labels. If you want to know exactly what the wording should be for a specific form field, we probably have it in here. There should be plain language, again, times and dates, how to use numbers, how to abbreviate things. So I would suggest when you're working on things, if you're working with content, try to take a look at this and understand what you should be doing. If you want to click on foundation real quick. So foundation, this will have our breakpoints, our color palettes. You can click on icons. This has kind of been talked about a lot recently. We have audited some of the icons across VA.gov. So if you're going to use an icon, you may want to check here and see how else it's being used or if it's being used. Also spacing units, typography, that type of thing. All the foundational information is in here. Now, if you want to go to components, you can pick, let's do the accordion. That's always a good one to do. So this, and this design system is ever changing. It's very fluid. So I would recommend you check it if you're going to use a component or a pattern, because we may have updated the guidelines, which happens often. But here you can see on this page has examples V1 and then examples V3. So that's something I was talking to you about. Try to use the V3. It's going to have the code usage. It should link out to the Figma file, which we are currently transitioning to Figma. So some of these things may not be perfect. You can see Naomi just highlighted one of the links for Storybook. And if you go out, this is Storybook that I was talking about. Scroll down, you can see the code we were talking about. Naomi just clicked on Canvas. That was the having it sized to mobile if you want to see how it behaves. You may have to get out of, okay, there. Yeah, so you can turn things on and off. This one has a border, but you'll be able to see all the different options. So it is just nice to play around with this to see how it would behave. And if you scroll down on the left, Naomi, you're actually going to see scroll all the way down there. Keep going, keep going.
Oh, yeah.
USWDS. So these are the V3 versions of these components. So this, when you're going into Storybook and you want to see the V3 version, you would scroll all the way down on the left. This is going to show you the most up-to-date component.
And just a note on this, we have worked to get the Figma components aligned with this. So you'll have the same parameters to toggle on and off in Figma. So this should be very seamless handoff with your engineers if you're using these out of the box.
You want to go back to the design system? Yep. And then let's scroll down and find where it says when to use or when not to use this component.
Oh.
So usage, okay. Do additional info. This is a good one because we get a lot of questions about this one, and this will.
Okay.
And go down to usage. There we go. So this is some of the guidance that you'll want to look at and make sure you're using the component in the proper way. Additional info is notoriously used, and a lot of times people put too much content in there. We don't want 3 paragraphs of content in additional info. So we have under when to consider something else, and then you'll see the second bullet that says too much content, and then you'll see a recommendation on what to do instead of using this component. So hopefully there's a lot of great information under usage. You can keep scrolling down. Yeah, if there's variations, there'll be a when to choose, the variation, which variation to choose at what point. There may be placement considerations. A lot of that's related to accessibility. And there may be design principles that it links to. If you scroll down a little more, content considerations. So again, if you have anything that reaches out to content, hopefully we've notified you of it here. The accessibility considerations will be very important. And then there's this component checklist at the bottom that if you click and expand some of those, you can see we have a maturity scale, we have accessibility check marks. So we've tried to think of everything we can to let you know how well tested or, how good this component is.
Yep.
So now if you want to go back up to the top and click on patterns. So again, these patterns are ever changing. It's fluid as it should be, but we try to document any of the commonly used patterns in the design system. So you can click on multiple responses on the left. That was one I was talking about that we redid a year or so ago. It gives you, again, how to build this pattern, how to use this pattern, when to use something else. We should have examples if you want to keep scrolling down. So this is an example of what the UI may look like if you're building a certain type of pattern and there's different options. You can keep scrolling down. We try to get as much as we can in here. And if there are variations, again, we try to tell you when to use this variation versus when to use something else. And if you want to click on templates at the top. So we have a few templates out there. Most of them are around forms. If you want to click on the forms and expand that. It's going to be very similar to patterns. This is just kind of the foundation of how you want to do a form. There should be an how to apply page. There should be an introduction page, review page, confirmation page, and it should give you an idea of what all of those look like and how the user flow would go. So that's our design system in a nutshell. Naomi, you want to go back to the slide deck? So we're talking about Figma. Previously, we talked about Sketch, but we just recently made this transformation to Figma. I'm just going to go over this lightly because I am by no means a Figma expert. We are working with our design system team to get a short video out there, exactly how to use Figma and what the benefits are. But it'll probably be a month or two before we get that out there. The biggest thing is that, you're working in the open. So when you create these Figma files, everybody can see what you're working on. This will be important when it comes to, using the patterns and components that we have out there. One of the biggest questions we get for people who come through the collaboration cycle or come to design office hours is, I have a problem or I have this thing. Has anybody else used it? And so we can say, hey, go look at the claims team. They did something similar. And so you could go out to Figma and you can go to the claims team's space and you can look and see what they're working on. So it's really important to use Figma, making sure that your work is actually out in the open. And that'll help us learn from others. Naomi mentioned that in Storybook, we have those options for each component and that we will have the same thing in the Figma VA design library. It's also configurable. So when you go and you drag a component in, let's say I put an alert in there and I have a title, I would put my title in, and then I have a warning alert and I want to change that style to just an info alert. Everything there is linked directly back to the component. You just click a drop down, you can change the styling of it, you can put in your text. It's actually really, really cool. So it will expand and collapse as well. We have the mobile versus the desktop out there. The other benefit of Figma is going to be the automatic library updates. So if we do change a component, we suddenly get crazy and we're like, we want our H1s to be 45 pixels big. We make that change, it will change the component. And if you're using the component, it will update your designs. And then, of course, alignment with the developers. They'll be able to see exactly how you're using things and know how to code them. And this will be important when you come through the collaboration cycle. Typically, we'll see your Figma files at a midpoint review. They'll be more higher fidelity. We're going to be looking at all the little things you're doing. If you're using the components, you're going to get a lot less feedback. You're going to have a lot fewer changes than you would have to make that if you're just trying to put something in there on your own. Go to the next slide. So I mentioned some of these Figma design libraries, and again, hopefully we will have a more in-depth video soon. But currently we have the component library out there. It has a really good chunk out there, but we are still kind of building it out. We recommend that you use the accessibility annotations library. That's very helpful. And then we do have example libraries out there as well. And you can click on that link and that will take you to a page on platform website to learn more about Figma. If you need access to Figma, you can just ask Naomi or Kevin Hoffman in the Slack channel. All right, you want to go to the next slide? Contributing to the design system. Okay, so we've been talking about how the design system is ever changing and it's fluid, and we need your help in keeping it up to date. We do say that if there is a component or a pattern that works for what you're doing, you should use it. You shouldn't try to change it if it works for your need. Most of those have been tested. They have accessibility baked in. They have the maturity scale attached to them. They have all of the options. So we know that they're pretty good. But sometimes you do come across where you're like, I could make something better, or this doesn't fit my problem. It doesn't solve my problem. So that's when we need you to try to help contribute to the design system. So Naomi, if you want to click that link and go out to that page, we have what's called experimental design requests that you can do. So if you want to click on the suggest an addition or an update, so you can read through here exactly how to do it, but you basically will just make sure no one else is suggesting an update. You'll have to fill out this request. You'll go to a design system council meeting and present what it is you want to do. An important piece here is going to be why you want to do it. Like I said, if you're suggesting something that's already out there and works and we know has accessibility and everything else working for it, and you don't have a reason to steer away from it, they're probably going to tell you, no, you can't use this new thing. But if you have an idea of a way to improve something, or you found a problem with something, or you have a new solution to something, then you'd want to fill this out. It's a pretty easy process, and we definitely encourage you to do this. Another important thing to think about is that you will need to do some sort of usability testing with anything new. Most of the time, that's going to be the formal usability testing with an actual veteran. However, there are times where you may have a small change and you're like, we're going to do a limited release, or we're going to put it in production and compare analytics. That can be acceptable too. All right, you want to go back to the slide deck? And next slide. Yep. So these are just some of the links that you have. If you want to click out and look at some of the things that we've talked about, these are all great things to use.
All right, so what's next on your orientation journey? So you will just continue with your new team orientation epic, if you've got that in GitHub, and go to other orientations. And we recommend the accessibility and analytics orientation, because that's going to have great information on one, knowing how to do accessible, like we mentioned, the accessibility annotation checklist, and doing your preparing for an accessibility staging review. Those are great things for you to kind of be familiar with. And the analytics will help you with doing that discovery work ahead of time and understanding your product. Then we encourage you to go to the platform website. This is where we keep everything. This is our single source of truth that we are trying to direct everybody to. It's going to link you out to different places like the design system and various other resources. But if you start here, you'll be able to find everything. We have, hopefully it's organized in a easy to understand way, but you can get started here. And this is where we have the orientation information. There's a video to kind of give you some background. But if you want to go and find this deck and other decks, you probably went here to sign up for this. Here's where you would sign up for the other orientations. You can view all of these decks and then a recording if you want to go back to it. So that's super helpful. You can also, here's where all the information about your collaboration cycle touch points are here if you want to become more familiar with that. And then of course, the research and design. We have research resources and design resources. And at the bottom of every page, we have a help and feedback footer. We encourage you to suggest any changes. If you were looking for something and you couldn't find it, let us know. If you saw something and you think it's out of date, let us know. This is our way to kind of keep this up to date and trustworthy. So we encourage you to use that. And then finally, support is accessible here. We have lots of ways. We're going to be cleaning this up to make it easier to understand. But for the office hours, you can go here and either drop in or RSVP. We appreciate an RSVP to give those who are hosting it a heads up on the topics that we'll be talking about, but it's not necessary for all of them. Okay, and then, yeah, so those are more links. And let's see. So at any point, again, we'll reiterate if you need help and have questions, there's office hours, there's the Slack channel. If you have accessibility questions, you can go to those office hours and there's a Slack channel. Their office hours, I think, are still coming soon. Need to check in on that. Research questions, everything is organized here so you can get to that. All right, so we are at the end and we've picked up more folks, so welcome. And I'll open it up if anybody has any questions. And let me send you the link to the platform website. If you don't already have it, I'll put that in the chat. Does anybody have any questions? No? You want to come on and introduce yourselves? I think I will stop recording at this point and then we can